finisher he's becoming.
Lane, Oladipo. Oh! That's right. You better mean mug after you dunk on somebody that way.
Gonna run it down. He goes with it. Adebayo for the win.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Post Up, the Miami Heat post-game show, brought to you by the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I'm your host, Jonathan, aka 3-Piece Combo, and I'm joined by Gad. You can find him on Twitter at Gadiel Cartagena and Mr. Brian Young at Brian is the King. Now, the Heat just pulled off a win in double overtime. Jimmy Butler was 0 for 7 from 3 for most of the game, but hey, he was 1 for 1 when it counted. He hit a big 3 at the end to seal this game off. Kyle Lowry had a big initial overtime, had 10 points between both, or actually 12 points between both overtimes, including that game-sealing layup off a beautifully drawn inbounds play from Coach Spoelstra. Duncan Robinson was instrumental in the 14-point comeback in that fourth quarter from 9 points down. Other than that, the game was pretty garbage, and the first quarter was pretty good from there. But before we move too far into there, I do want to thank the primary sponsor of the 5 Reasons post-game show. That is A Aggressive Insurance. You can find her at 954-561-8800. Make sure you give her a call. She'll take care of all your insurance needs. She'll actually give you a free vacation voucher if you ask her to do a full insurance rundown for you. So go ahead and give her a call at 954-581-8800. Mention 5 Reasons Sports. She's a Heat fan. You don't want to give your business to a Lakers fan, a Celtics fan. Imagine if the insurance person you have right now is a Boston fan. Are you really going to give your money to a Boston fan? No. Make sure you give your money to Miss Lynette, and make sure you take care of the Heat fans that love the team that you love. And like I said, give her a call, 954-581-8800. Gadiel Cartagena, my man. Mr. Brian Young, how are you guys feeling today after this win?
Did the Heat win today?
We somehow pulled it off. Yes, we did.
And you know what? I'm doing good. I'm doing good enough because, honestly, if you told me in the middle of the fourth quarter that the Heat were going to win this game, I would not believe you. And then Charlotte somehow managed to play worse than the Heat did for the entire previous, 39 minutes and completely gave a chance for Miami to get back into the game, in which Duncan did a great job getting us there, and then Lord knows how the hell the Heat ended up getting this game to overtime. Ugly game. Probably the worst scoring game we'll ever see from Jimmy Butler. Well, hopefully the worst scoring game we'll see from Jimmy Butler this season. And I mean, there's a ton of negatives to harp on because this was just an ugly game. All the things that we talk about on this show of what could possibly go wrong for the Heat, they kind of all happened tonight, right? In glaring fashion. And it was spearheaded by Jimmy Butler just doing terribly as a scorer and Bam just being non-existent. I hated watching every single second of this game, but I love the fact that we ended up winning. Got to give credit to Duncan, but we'll get there eventually. Listen, we won. No complaints from me. Ugly, we can diagnose it, but we won the game.
So before I get to those donations, Jimmy Butler hit third flash. He for sure hit third flash where didn't really matter in the first or second periods, regulation and first overtime. He got it in the third quarter, second overtime, sorry. And so for that, he gets third flash for that 1-3 he made. I do want to thank Jason Adebayo for the $4.99 dono. He said, bruh, we low-key got lucky. That Lowry step back 3 on Melo was actually a 2. Fuck it.
Probably. We got so lucky that this game was even close, man. Thank you, Charlotte, for being ass.
Yeah, thanks, Charlotte, for being garbage. Now that's 7 straight losses for Charlotte at home, which, damn, that sucks for any Charlotte fan. Shout out to Greg for being at the game. Probably brought the team a little bit of luck there. Brian, what did you see from tonight's game overall?
I feel like I wasted 3 hours of my life. This game was 3 hours long, and by the end of it, I felt like I came out of a Denny's and my clothes were smelling like cigarettes. I've never smoked a cigarette in my whole life. And my whole body just feels like I huffed down a whole pack. It's crazy because I was thinking during this game, there was a whole era of teams that played these really shitty, low-scoring games. It took them 2 overtimes to break 100. And 50-year-olds tell people that era was the golden era of basketball. I think those people are either delusional, liars, or they're masochists. Because, my God... That game was it was interesting. You know what though? Shout out to the Hornets because it felt like in the third quarter the Heat were basically just giving the game away, right? And yet And yet the Hornets were so garbage that the Heat were able to stay in it and eventually come through and win. Listen, man, Jimmy Butler, I don't know what to say. That dude is fantastic. I've said in the past, I think that if he had played more games this season, he might be in that second-tier MVP conversation because you are the best team in the East, right? And you're the best player and the best team in the conference. You should usually be in that conference. But man, my dude, 8 threes. That's impressive. But he did hit the one when it counts, so it's like I can't even really be mad. Like the Heat won the game. It felt like pulling teeth. It felt like plucking hairs. God damn it. Just God damn it.
It was worse than that, honestly. This was.
Hey,
It was
God
terrible.
damn it, but we won the game, and that's
We won the
really
game.
what
We won the
matters.
game.
won the
Yeah,
game.
no,
We
I
won the
agree.
game, right?
We won the game.
Still the first seed.
Sure. But like,
All-Star break.
I
So
just-
can't be too upset at that. Thanks,
No.
James Todd, for the $4.99 dono. Almost took a shot every time Jimmy took and missed a three. 2 shots in, I decided against it. I would have been deceased. Yeah, I don't think anybody would have had the tolerance to drink for every time Jimmy missed a shot. His stat line tonight was pretty rough. 5 for 24 from the field, 1 for 8 from 3. Like I said, 1 for 1 when it counted. In that double overtime, 4 for 4 from the line, which just showed the lack of aggression that he had. He did have 10 rebounds, 8 assists, finished with 15 points overall. But I want to talk about somebody else first. I want to talk about Kyle Lowry because I feel like he was a big reason that we won this game. He was instrumental, especially in that first overtime. I mean, he hit that 3 over Melo where he stepped back and it was a low shot clock situation. Shout out to John Crotty. And he was able to make it. And then after that, he got in the paint, essentially bulldozed his way. And this was kind of a little bit of the old Kyle Lowry that I thought we were going to get a little bit more of earlier in the season. That's what I saw in that first overtime and later in the game. Brian, I'll throw it to you on this one. What did you see from Kyle Lowry tonight?
Oh man, this was vintage Kyle, and I think that there's been comparisons to Rajon Rondo as far as Kyle's play this season, right? Which is a good thing. Like Rondo was a very good player, except that Kyle actually has the ability to score and open up a game as a shot creator and as a shooter, right? And I think that having that option when your two guys don't really have it going, Jimmy Butler missing and Ben not really being aggressive, to be able to rely on Kyle to give you 25 and blow open or not really blow open because it was still close, but at least get you through those offensive lulls in an overtime or in a fourth quarter. That's huge. So I thought that Kyle played great, and it kind of reminds me that for all the games where it seems like Kyle's not being aggressive, or for anybody that box score watches and says, oh well, Kyle only gave you 6 points today. Like Kyle has the ability to give you a lot offensively. It's just he's not, that's not his role. But again, just having that fallback option is it's great for this team.
Yeah, it's necessary especially when we don't have Hero and we don't have the same bench depth. We don't have that extra spark. We definitely needed Kyle to step up. We saw the offensive lulls in this game. I mean, after the 37 points in the first quarter, I feel like we've scored just about that much in the second, third, and fourth quarters. So it was super, super necessary for Kyle. I feel like in that overtime, when nothing else was going right, Kyle Lowry just kept this team and kept the ship steady, and he was hitting really, really big shots. Gad, speak to me about what you saw from Kyle Lowry.
I'm starting to think the ball should be maybe he doesn't need to take the shot, but the ball needs to be in his hands more to close these games. Like, I understand Jimmy on the last possession, that's totally fine if you want to trust him as your clutch shot maker. The results will tell you that's the wrong process, but he's not at least going to make a mistake and turn the ball over on those last 24 seconds. So for the last 24 seconds, I'm okay with giving it to Jimmy. But I think Kyle, let him orchestrate the offense. You don't have to go away from what you're good at. You can continue to try to run sets, run actions, find mismatches, and do these things. You don't have to just give it to Jimmy and say, figure it out on the perimeter. Because that's what they're doing right now, and then you wonder why they're having the toughest time in these close games, despite having the best defense in the league in these clutch situations. They are, bar none, fantastic defending in clutch situations, but they are the easiest team to guard because no one's helping off of Bam. I mean, everyone is helping off of Bam, sorry. Bam is a non-threat. He had Montrezl Harrell tonight and just was not taking advantage of that matchup. I think he got one touch in the in the 2 overtimes. You got to have Kyle run the offense, and you have to run some semblance of an offense for those last 4.5 minutes. You have to try to do it because it's too ugly. It's unsustainable. You're relying strictly on Jimmy free throws and contested bad pull-up shot attempts. Like, it's the late game offense need fixing, and I want to credit Kyle Lowry because he's shown us on a pretty decent sample size this year. He's pretty good with the ball in his hands late, and we kind of need to start to trust that. You brought him here for a reason. It's time to give him the reins. He doesn't need to take every shot, but let the man run the offense like the way we know he can.
Yeah, I mean, they always speak about on the broadcast how they liken Kyle Lowry kind of like the quarterback of the team, and Jimmy Butler is kind of the running back of the team. When you need that late game situation, you don't just want to be running the ball. You need the ball with the you need the quarterback to have the ball in his hands to be able to set up the play that's best for the team. This is, and Ari Latias always says this is a team that plays on high effort, and it's very team oriented. So if the quarterback is not sharing the ball to, Duncan Robinson, who is hitting tonight, and we'll get to a little bit later, to Bam Adebayo, to set up Jimmy, make his job a little bit easier instead of making him have to take turnaround fadeaway jump shots that we all hate. I don't think any person, there's 370 people watching right now. I don't think anybody watching this stream likes watching Jimmy take a fadeaway jumper to close the game in a clutch situation moment. So before we move on to Duncan Robinson, because I do want to give him some credit, I do want to thank Question Everything for the $2 donation. He said, "Slow in the huddle." Okay, Jimmy fadeaway 3-time, literally.
That's really where we're at right now, bro.
It's so predictable by the other team. I think even as Heat fans, we see it coming. He's at the top or he's at the corner. He's dribbling till the clock gets low, and then he starts the offense way too late. And that's something I noticed as well. When there was, a minute and a half to go, we were up 5. We were just holding the ball till about 5 seconds instead of just initiating offense and looking for the best shots. So that was something I didn't really like. But Gatto, I'll go with you on this one. Duncan Robinson was phenomenal tonight. Not only in his shooting, which was instrumental, like I said, in the comeback, but he was able to find Bam in an overtime, in the fourth quarter twice to get him that dunk and to find him that little short roll to help shut down that 14-point lead. Also got 4 rebounds as well, but we don't win this game without Duncan Robinson. So we always talk shit about him. You know what I mean? I want you to give him a little bit of love tonight.
Yeah, no, I'll be the first to tell you when Duncan played poorly, and I will be the first to tell you tonight that Duncan played a really good basketball game. People are going to say, oh, Duncan was a defensive liability. Absolutely. If you're going to be the worst defender on the floor for your team, you will get targeted. I don't care who you are. The worst defender on the floor will get targeted. But Duncan was able to counteract that by actually hitting shots, passing the ball well, specifically off of those handoffs to Bam or Jimmy. It was nice to see the ball go through, and it was nice to see him confident. Obviously, this is not something we've seen consistently. It's not something I'm expecting to see consistently. I'm just going to take it for what it is tonight. Duncan played a really good basketball game when we needed him to. He's one of the reasons that we won this game, and we're not going to be the second seed. I don't want to give him too much credit past that, but he did enough for us to win this game, and that's all you can ask for from Duncan. I know everyone loves to slander him. We can just save that for another night. If you're going to get mad about Duncan Robinson not being able to guard LaMelo Ball, I hate to break it to you, you're just looking for a reason to be angry. There's a reason why that guy's an all-star and Duncan Robinson is not. But his spacing and whatever it may be, his shooting, it was much needed tonight. Credit to Duncan, good game. Try to build off this.
Brian, anything else to add on Duncan? Because I know you before the beginning of the season, you were the one that was holding out hope, making sure that Duncan Robinson train stayed alive. Are you back on that train?
What
I never
train?
let
The
the
pitch is
train
off the rails right now.
See, I've actually never said a negative word about Duncan Robinson in my life. So, yeah, I've seen this coming since the beginning of the season. I've been saying Duncan is a great player, and tonight proves how great Duncan Robinson really is. 21 points, 5 assists. That's amazing. You know what though? I will say, as a legit compliment to Duncan, I do love the chemistry that he has with Bam in the sense that I feel like in years past it's basically been Bam opening things up for Duncan, but I think that learning to hit Bam on the roll, not just Bam, Jimmy as well, I think is definitely a wrinkle that we've been asking for. Him getting into the paint, as well. Roy will say Fried is full of shit. I am not full of shit. I'm telling you, I've always been on the Duncan trade. That's never not been the case. But yeah, Duncan played great tonight. Without him, they don't win this game. Like Gad said, he's not going to be able to guard guys like Melo Ball. Like, we know this. But if he's hitting shots, then it evens out, and it's whatever. So props to Duncan. Always believe in you, my guy. I'm going to stick with you until you're not a member of the Heat, which is probably going to be next season. But whatever.
Yeah, no, definitely. We want to give him love when he's there. And we do want to give love to our boy, Royal A. Shepherd. I believe it's his daughter's birthday today. So we
Oh
want
yeah,
to wish,
happy birthday.
wish a
Yeah.
happy birthday to his
birthday.
daughter. Hope you guys are enjoying your time. Hope you guys had a wonderful day. Hope she enjoyed that day as well. Duncan Robinson, like I said, we don't win this game without him. Let's get to somebody else, though. I want to talk about Jimmy Butler a little bit. And Brian, I'll start with you on this one. Jimmy, the last minute and a half of this game in double overtime, when he hit the free throw line jumper and then he hit the 3-point shot, that was great. I love that. But that only happened because he literally went he was 4 for 23 before that and 0 for 7. So there's bound to be some sort of regression coming eventually. It took him 51 minutes to get some regression, but he actually got the shot to go. But it wasn't his best game. He still,
That's
found
generous.
a way to make an impact. What were your thoughts on Jimmy Butler? Do you feel like he had a positive impact? Was this a game where you feel like he held the team back a little bit? What were your thoughts on his game overall?
I mean, usually, obviously, Jimmy is a very good player. He's a very efficient player. I thought that tonight was probably just an aberration, as far as just scoring. Yeah, it doesn't help when you go 5-24. I don't know what the obsession with shooting that many threes was tonight. I feel like recently Jimmy's decided that he wants to take at least a couple threes a game or a three per game. And I don't know why, because he's not good at it for whatever reason. But it is what it is. Like, I at least appreciate that Jimmy has the confidence even when he's struggling to keep shooting. We know what he's good at. He's whatever. Like he hit the three in the second overtime that helped us seal this win. I'm not super upset about it. I'm just kind of like, I don't know how to describe my feeling. I feel like it's kind of funny when Jimmy has games like this.
Yeah.
You are a masochist, confirmed. There's no other way around it.
Yeah, I don't think it's funny. Like when Jimmy's going 1 of 8 from 3, you don't look at the stat line and be like, "Huh, he took 8 threes." Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Okay, the threes I'll give it to you because I literally feel like him and Spo are trolling at that point. And then the funniest part to me is when he hits the 3 at the end and he said, "I told you I'd make one.
Yeah,
I told you I'd make one." Like he's a legitimate psychopath for that. There's no other way around it. Oh man, it's not funny though.
I don't know. It was a bad offensive performance. We don't usually see this from Jimmy, so I feel like for me it's like whatever. It's not like he usually goes and jacks up a bunch of shots and misses like 90% of them. So fuck it, whatever. Take this game, throw it out. I'm sure Jimmy will be great next game.
Yeah, fuck it. When it mattered, he got buckets. So I do want to thank Amp, the producer, for the $5 dono. He said, "Great analogy. Jimmy is our RB, but the best version of this team is Bam as a running back, and it's frustrating when he plays so passive." So, Gad, I'll let you finish off any thoughts on Jimmy Butler, and then we'll talk a little bit about Bam Adebayo, because you brought up the point where he really didn't get many touches in the overtime. I mean, the first overtime, he drew the foul. He was able to hit the 2 free throws at the beginning of the first overtime, give us a 2-point lead. After that, I didn't see him engaged in even like screening for anybody. Like it was PJ and it was Jimmy setting screens, and it was really, really weird. Second overtime, you saw him running out of that mid corner post, trying to find people and find cutters, but not looking into the rim at all, not looking to attack at all. Any final thoughts on Jimmy Butler, and open me up on what you saw from Bam Adebayo tonight?
Yeah, I just want to shout out Amp, the producer, because I wholeheartedly agree. I think Bam is one of those guys, like, you have Montrezl Harrell on an island. You're telling me, and PJ Washington at times, you're telling me you can't try to take one dribble to take those dudes to the basket. Because more often than not, it's either going to be a made layup, a foul, or an ugly missed layup, which honestly, I feel like at a certain point, you'll live with that type of aggression from Bam. You're not expecting it to be perfect. You just want the process to be there, and it's not. That's my issue with Bam late game. He's legitimately non-existent. So you have Jimmy, who's a non-scorer when he's pretty much 10 feet away from the rim, and you also have Bam, who's a non-scorer because anytime he catches the ball, his back is to the basket when he's 20 feet away from the rim. It's just really frustrating, and we've harped on this multiple times. Like, there's going to be some struggles in terms of getting Bam acclimated to the late game situations, but not like this. You can't just go ghost against what should be a super favorable matchup. Like, if there was one matchup before the game that I would have told you this is the matchup where the Heat can absolutely assert themselves, it would be Bam on whoever the hell is guarding him. Those plays are either not strong enough, not big enough, not quick enough, or a combination of all three. And Bam just could not do it. He could not get there. And he does all the other things well. Defensively, he was really good when they weren't trying to get him out of the actions that they were running. But, man, I just wish there was more of an aggression from him. There was a more concerted effort from him to be involved in the late-game offense. I wish there was a more concerted effort from Spo to get him involved, from Kyle to get him involved, from Jimmy to get him involved. It seems like the only guy who's looking for him late game is Duncan. And Duncan is never on the floor late game. So, I don't know what it is. But if we say it time and time again, if this team is going to get where we want them to get to, Bam has to be not the guy, but a guy that you can trust down the stretch of games. That's all it has to be. He just has to be a guy. And we know he's capable of it because we've seen it, damn it. We've seen it so many times. But we're just not doing it right now.
We saw it a little bit in the last game. I mean, he turned Powell into like barbecue chicken, right? He was absolutely tearing him up. And then in the second half, he went away from that for some reason. Brian, before I get to you on Bam Adebayo, I do want to thank Corbs for the $4.99 dono. He said, ugly game, good teams find a way to win. I think maybe he meant don't undervalue Tyler and Caleb being injured. They bring a lot to this team. I don't think any of us are really underestimating. I mean, Tyler's our second leading scorer at 20 points off the bench. So you can't really discount what he's bringing to the team. And then Caleb Martin is kind of like our Swiss Army knife that is able to do a little bit of everything off the bench.
We need both of them really badly.
And it shows that we're missing those sparks, right? We have zero spark coming off the bench, and it's more of Gabe and Yurt kind of having that connection that we were talking about. But before we get to that, Brian, talk to me about what you saw from Bam Adebayo. Do you feel like it's him? Do you feel like it's Spo? Is it a little bit of both? What's your mindset on how he played today?
I mean, as far as Bam goes specifically, I feel like he has a tendency to ball watch on offense sometimes. He just kind of stays, near the rim and just doesn't move. He just kind of is like, okay, I'm gonna wait for everybody else, to get going, and I'll find like he's always active. He's always active on defense, and that's kind of what frustrates me a little bit. Like I see the force on one end of the court, and then on the other end, he's like, whatever, I'm just a guy. And I know that we've kind of talked about how, for Bam, that is a process. He has to work on that. In the past few games, it seemed like he had kind of figured that out. It seemed like he had kind of realized, like, I'm one of the best players on this team. Not only do I have the ability to impact the game as a scorer, but I have to do it because this team needs me to. But at the same time, it's like we've seen this so often from Bam where he kind of just floats, as a scorer. I don't know, man. It's on one hand, it's disappointing. On the other hand, it's like more of the same. So you can't even really be mad at it. You know that you need it for sure, but I don't really know what to expect from Bam at this point on that end. So it's whatever. Like we know that all the other things that he does well. And I guess like for me, because he does literally everything else on the court great, I'm kind of not really mad, but I do wish that there was a little bit more force. And then I also do feel like it's sometimes on Bam's teammates to find him in spots where he's open. Like there was a play where I think PJ had Bam wide open at the rim, and I think he opted for a floater and missed. And I'm like, that was a lot, man. Like he's right there, You have a super athletic 6'9" center, and I feel like sometimes he's either not put in positions to be successful with his size and athleticism, or or guys are looking for other guys to make a play. So I think it's a combination of things. I think it'll get better over time, but whatever.
Whatever. I understand, man. I mean, he's going to take 2 steps forward and he's going to take a step back, and it's going to happen that way. You know what I mean? We can't really outlook at that. Young OG saying, I can't find the comment right now, but he said that if you look at the podcast that Bam was on, that it's a Bam thing and that Coach Spo gives him the green light. So that's a very interesting concept there. Any final thoughts on Bam Adebayo, Brian?
I think that Bam needs to not pull the role players together and say that this is your time to shine. Like he needs to say that to himself. Like I legitimately believe he goes to defense after losses and is like, you didn't do enough tonight after shooting like 4 times. So have the conversation with yourself, bro. I know that there was an article recently that said Bam told himself on the team bus or whatever after the loss to the Celtics that he needs to be more aggressive. We've heard that exact same statement like a million times. I don't know. At a certain point, it's like I don't really believe it until I see it as a consistent thing. So
Yeah, I can understand that. We got 360. There's an issue right now. We got 368 people in here roughly. We only got 41 likes. So if we don't get 100 likes by 30 minutes, which is 5 minutes from now, we're gonna shut the fucking post game show down. So we got 40 likes right now. Get us to 100 likes in the next 5 minutes, or we're gonna end this damn stream. It's not that hard. It's free as well. Appreciate you guys. All right, let's talk a little bit about one more guy on the starting lineup who I felt played a phenomenal game. Super instrumental, especially that I think third quarter he had 7 points in it to keep us kind of afloat in a quarter that we were having no success whatsoever. PJ Tucker came out, man had 15 points, 10 boards as well, 6 of 12 from the field. He was able to draw some charges, great defense on who, no matter who he switched out, he was playing great defense on him. But overall, just phenomenal game from PJ Tucker. I think we all know what we're going to get from him by now. He's one of the mainstays of this team, and it's crazy that it's only his first team year because they feel like he's been here forever. It feels like this man is a purebred Miami Heat player, but he's just only been here for a couple months so far. So, Gad, I'll let you talk to me on this one.
It looks like they hit the like quota, by the way, so we're going to keep it rolling for a little bit here. But for PJ Tucker, yes. PJ Tucker is like invaluable to this team at this point. I feel like they really, really need him for things to work, both defensively and offensively. Now, I will say, defensively, this has not been his greatest performance the last few games. It feels like he's a step slow. Like, he looks like a guy who's, 36, 37 right before the All-Star break. I will not fault him for that. PJ has been phenomenal, and he's been doing really good boxing out, even when he isn't doing his best job closing out and rotating. So credit to PJ, man. His energy, his effort is just, I love every single thing that he does on the floor. He's almost invaluable, and that little push shot and those corner threes have gotten really, really reliable. And now he's getting to that kind of that offensive rebounding facet where teams aren't really guarding him all that well, and he just bullies his way in and gets a rebound. So, like, PJ is just doing little things up and down the floor where you have to, like, really watch him in order to notice those things and pick them out. But he is just so good. He makes the sets work. He's a really good screener. He's fantastic in the short roll. I really hope he just gets a nice rest during this All-Star break and we can limit his minutes down the stretch. Because come playoff time, we might need this guy to play 40 minutes a game. And I wish I was exaggerating, but I don't think I am. He's ridiculous, man. He's like the perfect championship caliber role player. It's just on the stars to be championship caliber stars at this point. Because I think PJ is going to be that perfect fifth guy on the floor at all times.
I think that's beautifully said. Brian, thoughts on PJ Tucker, man? And also answer this question to me. What do you think he's going to bring to us in the postseason, right? Because he has been playing phenomenal for us. Like Gad said, he's the perfect fifth man. You can play him with anybody on the court, and he's going to help make anybody better. He screens almost as well as Bam for Duncan Robinson and help with those dribble handoffs. Like, he's a little mini Bam when it comes to those dribble handoffs with him. We see him bringing up the ball sometimes. I mean, when we signed him this offseason, I don't think I would have ever predicted that we were going to see PJ Tucker dribble the ball from half court, like dribble the ball, like from the inbound. Like, that made no sense to me. And now, like, when you see it's like, okay, PJ is initiating offense, that's a normal thing to go. So talk to me about what you saw from him in this game, and talk to me about what you think he's going to bring in this postseason as well.
A little fun fact about PJ. He said he played point guard overseas, so he has those skills. I think that sometimes as a collective NBA fan base, we forget, like, all these guys can play. All these guys have crazy skills, right? Like, they can do basically everything. It's just, opportunity, right? And PJ is getting the opportunity to show that he's more than a 3-and-D guy. Like, he is a complete basketball player. And like you mentioned, Jonathan, I think that he is basically a mini Bam, and that's what we're going to see in the playoffs. Essentially everything that Bam can do, PJ can do to a certain degree. Added with the 3-point shooting. I feel like as of late, those shots have been a little bit short, which kind of concerns me. I don't know if he's tired. I don't know if it's something, he has a little injury with his legs or whatever. Because, anybody that plays, that, when your legs are kind of fucked up, all your shots are short. So that's kind of a concern. But, he is going to be invaluable for them in the playoffs. And I really do think we're going to see a lot of nights where he is hitting that 40-minute mark, which, again, is why, it's slightly concerning that there isn't a backup for, to kind of take minutes off of PJ later on in the regular season. Some nights where you can just sit him entirely. And maybe it'll be Caleb. I can see that as well. And I think that's also why Spo's gone to two bigs to kind of save PJ a little bit. But PJ's been great. He was great tonight. He's been great all season. I literally can't think of a game this season where he said like PJ didn't play well or PJ was the reason they lost. Like PJ has been consistently amazing. So I dig it.
I will say, when was it? Tuesday against the Mavericks. Like you could argue that was his worst game of the year. And he didn't really play all that poorly. Like he was kind of just average, it says a lot about the player PJ's been this year.
Yeah,
he's been phenomenal.
That's totally cool. I feel like we came into the season expecting an average PJ. So if that's his baseline, like what we expected from him, you take it. I mean, he's playing great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. And I want to get a little bit to the bench as well because the first quarter they played really well. Gabe Vincent had 4 assists to Omer Yurtseven for 8 points for Omer, and he was doing a really good job in that backcourt point guard role. The rest of the game we really didn't see as much from him. Omer finished with 10 points. Like I said, 8 of them came in the first quarter. Gabe finished with 4. He did have 5 assists, but 4 of those came in the first quarter. Max Strus 1 for 6. Haywood Highsmith came off the bench. His minutes really weren't too pretty. Brian, I'll get to you on this one, man. What did you see from the bench? Because it feels like our bench is kind of bogging us down a little bit. Not just one individual player, it's just everybody as a collective. What do you feel about our bench? I know we're missing Hero and Caleb right now, but what did you see from them tonight?
Yeah, I didn't see much from them, which was kind of the problem. And I think that in large part, obviously we're missing Tyler Hero, who is far and away, the leading candidate for 6th man of the year, right? So, that you're missing a lot of firepower, but it does feel like Gabe and Strus haven't played up to how they've been playing for most of the season. Shout out to Yurt for getting numbers. He can't guard a pick and roll to save his life, but you would expect that from a guy that's 7 foot and like 300 pounds, whatever. Yeah, I mean, we just didn't really get much. But when you're missing Tyler and Caleb, that's kind of expected. You're asking a lot of Gabe and Strus to essentially carry the bench, and Dedmon. Shout out to Dedmon because he's also a crucial part of that bench. But that's even more reason for guys like Bam and Jimmy to show up when you're missing that much from the bench. Gabe hasn't been good of late. Yeah, no, he struggled a little bit lately. And I think that the upcoming All-Star break is going to do wonders for those guys because it kind of gives everybody a chance to reset, get healthy from whatever nagging injuries, and, get back to what they're doing pre-All-Star break.
I think, Ariel always says this is a high-effort team. When we're playing so hard all the time and it's double overtime, these guys are going to need a minute to get their legs under them. I wouldn't really be surprised if Spo plays Jimmy 5 to 8 minutes during the All-Star break.
I'm taking the under on that even.
Yeah, honestly, just to give him like fresh legs. Like I don't see him playing very, very much, and I don't think Jimmy's a guy that cares about playing a game that nobody else cares about competing in. Like he wants to play in games that they're actual competition, which we're not going to see in the All-Star game. So, Gad, finish me about what you saw in this game from what you saw from the bench guys.
Yeah, no, the bench just didn't cut it. There was maybe like a 2-minute stretch where Gabe and Yurt played well. Credit to Yurt. He's figuring out his touch near the rim. So just like those little things that Yurt's been able to do. Obviously, the defense isn't there, but the rebounding and the finishing has been good enough so he can be playable. Like he looks playable. Obviously, he's not as good as Bam, not even close, nowhere in the same stratosphere, but he's there. Gabe, it's been a struggle for him lately. I think he's just someone that he needs to kind of be around those better players. Like, I'm not expecting Gabe to carry a lineup at this point. It can happen in stretches, but asking for it to happen for like a 20 to 30-minute period in a game he's just not there yet. So you're seeing him and Strus, like water kind of reaches its level. They were fantastic for the stretch where we needed them to be fantastic. And then they've kind of cooled off a little bit, but it's fine if Kyle Lowry and Duncan Robinson come back and they're playing really well. So as long as you have like 2 of those guys playing well, like 1 point guard and 1 specialist playing well, you honestly should be in good shape. Like this Jimmy and Bam game is not going to happen most nights. But yeah, no, the bench wasn't good enough tonight. Haywood Highsmith, I'm not going to say much about it. He's a 10-day contract. Like anybody expecting him to be more than just a body, shame on you for putting those expectations on someone. He's out here trying his hardest, man. My problem with Highsmith being on the floor is the fact that our star players were deferring to him and letting him take. I think he took like 7 shots in not that many minutes. Gotta be more aggressive at times.
7 shots in 13 minutes.
Yeah, so that's not really gonna cut it, but I'm not too worried about the bench. It's been our strength for the majority of the season. It's just you're looking at a bench that's playing without 3 of its best players right now. Like Caleb Martin is almost indispensable to what he does as a two-way player, energy, cutting, movement. He does it all,
Vertical
right?
spacing.
Dedmon, huh?
Vertical spacing.
Vertical spacing too, absolutely. And then Dedmon, he's a good screener when he's not moving. He's just very physical, a lot of energy too, like gritty. And then Hero, I mean, we all know what Tyler Hero brings to the table. So they're missing a lot for that bench right now. So obviously, no, what the bench has done recently is not going to cut it, but I also wouldn't expect it to continue because they're missing a lot of the players that have made the bench their biggest strength, because that's what it's been. It's been their biggest strength throughout the entire season. So, like, be patient. They're going to be totally fine from the bench.
Oh, yeah, for sure. When you're missing the number 1 6-man candidate, that's going to happen to your bench, right? Everybody, roasted me in the comments for saying Spo coaching KD team. Jimmy doesn't give a fuck who's coaching him. He's going to sit down anyways. Like, he's going to play 5 to 8 minutes if that's what he wants to play.
I hope if he plays, I want him to take fadeaway corner threes every single possession. Prove a point.
Prove a point. Show that they're good shots. Watch him go
Absolutely.
like 7 for 7 on them too. Like
That
would be
I will be
great.
so mad because we need those makes in the playoffs. We do not need them coming in Cleveland.
We don't want the regression in an All-Star game. But that pretty much wraps it on this game. Overall, we got the win. It was a double overtime win. The Heat now Chicago Bulls atop the Eastern Conference standing, but we do have the tiebreaker. So we're sitting at the number 1 seed going into the All-Star break. And this is a pretty unexpected spot for this team to be in. Like, I don't think anybody expected this team to be the number 1 seed. Granted, I don't think anybody expected for Brooklyn to be this bad or to have this much of a fall, and maybe it's guys like Cleveland and Chicago to have to play this well. But we know as a team, Coach Spoelstra always comes out with a little extra fire and always kind of makes this final All-Star post stretch into the postseason a little bit stronger. So, Gad, I'll get to you on this one. What do you see happening for the rest of the season for this team? Getting Oladipo back, a ton more home games, not that many games on the road. How do you feel like the Heat are going to close out this season going into the postseason?
I'm pretty confident that they'll be able to maintain like a top 3 seed, but the entire Eastern Conference is just so ridiculous right now. And you need to see more development from Jimmy and Bam coexisting together. I've harped on this a trillion times, but I'm excited for the stretch coming out of the All-Star break because we have a back-to-back against, let me check, the Knicks and then the Spurs. And then after that, this is how our games go. We're going to learn a ton from February 28th all the way up until March 12th. We're going to learn a lot about this team. Our stretch goes as follows. At home versus the Bulls, at the Bucks, at the Nets on the second night of a back-to-back, against the 76ers, at home against the Rockets, at home against the Suns, at home against the Cavs, at home against the Timberwolves. One of those teams is currently not in the playoffs. One. And you're looking at a 4-game stretch of Heat, Bulls, Bucks, Nets, Sixers. You're going to learn a lot. We've been saying, okay, the offense looks better at times against bad defenses, bad teams, whatever it may be. Those teams have their warts. We're going to see how they look against the teams that we need to see how they're going to look. We're going to see how the Bulls play Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. We're going to see how the Nets, the Bucks, the Suns, the Cavs, all these teams do that. And you're hoping that Spo is able to figure out something so there can be progress during that stretch in terms of what is currently ailing this team. I'm excited. I don't think this team has reached its highest potential. They're starting to get some shooting regression from Kyle Lowry. There you go. We're number 1 and have not played to our potential yet. Shout out Young OG, having great comments tonight. Yeah, I'm confident in this team, but I need to see what they look like during this stretch in specific. And then obviously the Victor Oladipo wild card, that's going to be huge. I mean, that could completely change the dynamic of this team, but you can't account for anything until you actually get it.
Yeah, don't count your chickens before they hatch, right? Brian, talk to me about what you expect for post All-Star break and what you think Victor Oladipo might that might be an edit. Victor Oladipo might bring to this team post All-Star break. Yeah.
Yeah, historically the Heat have played well post All-Star break. So I think that, just going off of history, you would expect this team to look even better than it did in the first. I guess it's not really a hat because it got 20 games left. But still, I definitely expect this team to make a run. I think the one thing that gives me pause is that Victor Oladipo addition, because that's a big piece to integrate, especially if that's a tough schedule. I didn't know that it was going to look like that. And I think that Gad is right. That's going to tell us a lot about how this team looks. Even getting Tyler Hero back, I think that it might take him a game or two to kind of reacclimate. And, for a guy like Bam, who was aggressive the previous 3.5 games, they kind of figure that out. And I think we're going to see if he kind of goes back to being, ball watcher Bam, or Bam who is still aggressive, even with, the second leading scorer on the floor with him. So there's going to be a lot of things that I think we're going to see. I feel like they're going to figure it out. I feel like there's been a lot of times that this team could have folded throughout this season. And here we are at the number one. Not we, I'm not on the team, but here they are, with the number one spot. So, I have faith. I have faith that it's going to look really, really good in that second half. I don't know why I keep saying half, second, third, whatever, second, fourth of the season. So, yeah, I think we should be good. We're chilling.
I think we're in a good spot, too. I think when everybody comes back with their fresh legs, this team is going to be a little bit more revamped. The defensive end, I think things will be a little bit sharper. I don't think we were going to make quite as many mistakes. I feel like we've been turning over the ball a lot, but I feel like that's going to start to fizzle out a little bit. But I want to get to this question here, and Brian, I'll start with you on this one. Let's start with our big four, right? Kyle Lowry, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero. All four of those players have had their faults throughout the season. Bam with his aggression. Kyle hasn't been scoring quite as much as we thought. Hero sometimes with his efficiency, not always being able to get the shots up. And then Jimmy Butler, nights like tonight, and then also not being aggressive, right? Not even just putting up shots, being a little too passive. Which one of those four stars do you think will close out the season the strongest, and why?
I feel like I'm going to say Bam, because I do think that recently there has been some kind of a focus on being more of a force offensively. Tonight, he didn't show it, right? The second half of last game, he didn't show it. But I think that he's trending upward in a way to where I think the ceiling for him is higher than anybody else or any of those other three players. And I think that there's going to be a concerted effort for him, especially ramping up to the postseason, where he's going to have to be that guy on offense. I think that he's going to get more of those reps. I think that mentality is going to start to change. And by the end of the season, we're going to see a different Bam Adebayo.
Yeah, who do you think, as we're getting some comments in, Royal saying Jimmy, Josh saying Hero, Miss Arlene is saying Lowry, Gustavo saying Bam Depoy, Young OG saying Bam takes a leap this postseason. Which one of those four players do you think closes out this season the strongest?
Okay, so if we're talking regular season, I think it'll be Jimmy. I have to go with my guy Royal here. I just think Jimmy is more often than not like the single consistent driving force for this team on all facets. Offense, defense, fucking special teams too. It doesn't matter. He literally does it all for this team. It's going to be clunky at times, and I really wish he wouldn't take the three. He would kind of take that pull-up mid-range jumper like at the elbow, which he did in that second overtime, and it actually went in, and everyone was like, whoa, Jimmy can hit a shot. Jimmy's good at that shot. It's just sometimes he gets obsessed with taking shots that he's not good at. I think Kyle Lowry is going to help him get to where he needs to be, just take the shots that he needs to take. But I really, the one that I want to see it from is Bam. But I just don't know if it's all there to do it consistently. A lot of his big games have come as Tyler Hero has been struggling with injury. I need to see what Bam looks like with Hero, with Jimmy, with Lowry, with everybody healthy in order to fully proclaim that I think Bam is taking that step in terms of development. I think come playoff time, I'm actually really confident in Tyler Hero. I just think what he's added to his game this year as a tough shot maker is going to be huge for this offense. I know the efficiencies aren't all that great, whatever it may be, but he just has a knack for stepping up in big moments. And I think that's going to be huge come playoff time. So, I'm really confident in Hero, but I think Jimmy's going to be the one that closes the season the strongest.
Yeah, and actually, Miss Arlene is getting to my point. We're getting the chip because of Lowry. I think Lowry might be the person that closes out this season the strongest. Now, his numbers might not be what shows his impact, like I think Brian just said. But I think with having Hero back, with having a full team to quarterback, right? It's like Patrick Mahomes having Travis Kelce, just the whole facet of tools. So when Kyle Lowry is going to have all his tools, he has the spacing, he has the off-ball cutting, he has the vertical spacing of Caleb Martin. I think it's going to be a lot easier for him to set up everybody and elevate everybody else's game. So I think Kyle Lowry is going to close out the season really strong, and by doing that, everybody else will just be much better of a player. So, Gad, I'll talk to you with you on this one because I got to Brian on the other one. We're the 1 seed right now. What seed do you think the Miami Heat will finish?
Number 1. I think they're going to come out of this stretch looking a lot better than people anticipated, which is weird to say because the last 3 or 4 games or whatever it may be, they've been ugly if you want to just call a spade. Like, it has not been pretty. Nets, Mavs, and then tonight, not the greatest stretch going into the All-Star break, but I think this team fully healthy, they still have another level to get to, and I'm pretty confident that Spo will get them there, at least close to it. And I think they kind of understand. Like, I know everyone's downplaying the importance of seeding this year. I don't care about that. I need the seeding. I think this team needs to get the 1 seed because playing those home games, you see how different this team is at home. When they're on the road, they're honestly not that much better than average for whatever it's worth. At home, they play different. It's a different energy, and they need those role players firing. This team is more dependent on their role players than any other of those championship contending teams. Playing at home, if you get to a Game 7, Game 5, whatever it may be, you need them to be playing well. So I think they'll finish as the 1 seed. I know that part of the schedule gets a little bit scary, but they do have a lot of rest advantages. They're playing a lot of games at home. I think it's going to be a pretty ending for this team. I think they finish somewhere north of 50 wins. And I'm taking for the 1 seed, maybe like 55 wins or something like that.
Yeah, I think this team pretty easily cracks 50 wins. I think the way they've been playing, not only offensively, but defensively, they've been absolutely juggernaut. And I think when you add Victor Oladipo and you get this team whole, it's only going to make it easier for this team to switch between, man-to-man, switching everything, drop, zone. It's just going to make everything easier. And Coach Bo is going to make just everything work a lot better. Brian, answer me. What do you think, or what seed do you think the Heat are going to finish with this season?
Before I answer that, I keep seeing in the comments this dude saying to trade Bam for AD.
Oh, I already
watched AD this season, but Bam has been a more impactful player. Say whatever you want about the skills, but not only that,
the last 2 seasons he's been since that bubble run. Yeah. Bam has been the better player.
Yeah, no, AD is at his peak. AD is amazing. You only get that a few games a year. Like he's only going to play 30 games a season. So let's never do a Bam, AD thing as a fan base because that would never happen. It'd be a horrible idea. Just want to say that. Let's see what the Heat finish. I think probably 1. Like I said, like if they're going to make a run this second half of the season, then yeah, of course, I think that we should expect them to get that number 1 seed. But I wouldn't honestly be surprised if they fell down to 4, just because that like 1 through 4 is so jumbled up. Like we're talking about a couple game separation, so it would take like a mini slide and some other team getting mildly hot for them to be in that position. So it really could go either way. They don't even have to play, poorly the second half to fall down that far. I don't know. I'm going to say 1 just out of fandom's sake, but it's really, really close.
It's so ridiculously close right now.
Yeah, it's 2 games. I mean, Miami and Chicago, like I said, 38-21 both teams. It's a literal tie at the top of there. We just have the tiebreaker because we're 2-0 against them. Gad, do we have 1 or 2 games left against Chicago?
I want to say we have 2. Let me check that really quickly.
Okay,
I know we play them on February 28th. I'll check to make sure.
All right. So, and then we're 2 games ahead of the Milwaukee Bucks, 2.5 games above the Cavaliers, 3 games above the 5-seeded Philadelphia Sixers. And then the gap starts to open up just a little bit more, 4.5 from the streaking Boston Celtics. Then you get into the play-in bracket. The Toronto Raptors are 5 games behind us.
We have 2, by the way, against Chicago.
Okay.
We play them
we
again.
got 2 against them, so we should
in Chicago on April 2nd.
So Gabe Vincent masterclass that night.
1 can dream.
He killed it last time. I'm pretty sure like 16 or 18 in the fourth quarter.
He's the
against,
reason we beat them.
Yeah, so that boy is good. And getting to that point, so nice transition. Brian, I'll let you start this question because Dad started the last one. Out of all our role players, which one do you think is going to finish this regular season the strongest, right? We got PJ, Duncan's in there. You have guys coming off the bench, Max, Gabe, Caleb. You can even throw Oladipo in there. Dedmond. Of those guys, which player do you think finishes this season the strongest?
Tyler Hero. I kid. Hey, Royal got me. Tyler Hero, the ultimate role player. Yeah. I feel like, I'm going to go Caleb Martin because he's played so well this season. Like, that guy surpassed every single expectation you could possibly have for him this season. So, yeah, that's my pick. I feel like Caleb's going to play even better than he had been playing previously. Like, that guy is due for some money in the offseason. And I think he's going to be in a position to grab it. I think whatever contract I don't know how much he could, like, what's his max? Do you guys know how much he can make?
I mean, he won't get I'm not even fully confident he'll get like mid-level, like a full mid-level, because that's about like 10.8 million or something like that. But he'll get probably like, I'll say like 3 years, 21 to 27 million. Sounds about right for him.
Interesting.
Somewhere around what DJJ got.
See, because they got the
similar.
full mid-level, I think, right?
But that was objectively a bad contract. Like,
sure. I'm just wondering.
He doesn't reach that value. But it is possible. Like, some team could give him the full mid-level, and who knows?
Yeah, that's crazy motivation. That's however much that is, But yeah, that's my pick. Shout out to Caleb.
Gad, who do you think has of all of our role players finishes the season the strongest?
Okay, so in the event that you want to say Tyler Hero fits the sixth-man role, I will go with Tyler Hero. And in theory, I should go with Caleb. Brian gave a great explanation as to why, so I wholeheartedly agree with everything Brian said. I'm going Victor Oladipo. I think that he's been the X factor, he's been the wild card. It's between him and Bam's development, and Bam's shown some development, but it's not consistent. I'm very excited to see what Victor Oladipo can look like. He seems like he's in great spirits. He looks healthy. Supposedly he looks fantastic from what Ethan and all the 5 Reasons reporting has been saying behind the scenes. And listen, just something about Victor Oladipo. He's been wanting to play in Miami his entire career. He took a minimum contract. I think he might have turned down like slightly better offers, if at all. But he took a minimum contract in Miami because he wanted to do it in Miami. I really, really think this works out, and it's super optimistic. I don't want to try to get anyone's hopes up, but what Victor Oladipo brings to this team is almost exactly what we need, like word for word. And I think the Heat knew that. I think Victor knew that. I think everyone knows that at this point. I think we're going to be able to get maybe not all of the things we want from Depot, but we're going to get a very helpful Victor Oladipo who is, it looks like he's completely bought in. He's engaged on the sidelines. He's doing these videos, he's dancing, he's playing 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4. Now he's with Sioux Falls. Man, I'm just excited to get Depot. I really want him to play. I really want him to look great. Once he gets acclimated, that's going to be all of us, man. Like, I'm so excited to see what Depot looks like. And the fact that he's only going to have to play a role, he doesn't have to be a star, he's just going to have to play a role, is huge for this team. I think he could be just as good as Hero's been as a 6-man of the year role. I think Victor can be just as good next to him. And that is we already have one of the best benches in the NBA. We're going to have the best bench in the NBA. I pray to God that knee is okay. I hope he gets back to whatever level it is that he wants to get back to. I'm excited, man. I think Depot is going to be a game changer for this team.
And on top of that, I mean, he's only understanding the offense more. He's seeing things from the sideline. And when you watch the game from the sideline and you're able to just let things digest and kind of see where you can fit in and, what would I do differently? What maybe could I bring that another player is not bringing right now, right? You can see where you fit yourself in. And I think Oladipo is going to have a pretty seamless transition. Of course, there's going to be some growing pains, but I think we're going to see a pretty good transition from him simply because we know Coach Spoelstra loves to play players that play defense. And he's going to give 100% on defense all the time, no matter what. We can always go back to that one play last year where he locked down Steph Curry basically on one leg.
Literally on one leg, which is insane.
So if you can imagine this lineup: Kyle Lowry, Victor Oladipo, Jimmy Butler, PJ Tucker, Bam Adebayo. Like, oh my God. You can switch pretty much everything. The perimeter defense is crazy. The off-ball help is crazy. Jimmy Butler's playing free safety. that's a very, very scary lineup. If you're a team and if you're down 5 against Miami and they bring up that lineup against you, you're not scoring for about another 2 weeks. So yeah, I think that we're going to see a really good end of the season. I think Victor Oladipo is a good one. I'm going to put it to Duncan Robinson. I think that he might, with the full squad, just start hitting a little bit more. We saw it last season where he kind of regressed to the better. I think it was like 45% post trade deadline. So I think you might see something like that. So I'm going to throw out the Duncan Robinson their name. I think he'll have a close strong to the season, which will help further the agenda of trading him, because when he has value, that's when you want to trade him. You don't sell low, you sell high, you dumb motherfuckers. Learn how to trade. Any final thoughts on, or actually give me one prediction for the end of the season before we close out. Brian, I'll start with you.
Oof. Predictions are tough, man. Predictions are tough. But I'm gonna say, does playoffs count, or are we just talking about regular season?
Regular season.
Regular season. Bam averages 20 for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
I'll say Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry stays as a 40% shooter for the entire stretch after the All-Star break. That shot's been coming around. I think he's going to stay there. And that's going to be a big wrinkle to our offense. Kyle Lowry pull-up threes are going to be huge.
Yeah, I think the Kyle Lowry pull-up threes are something that we really haven't had before. You know what I mean? Like, having his threes is kind of like having just a really good support system. It's kind of like having a backbone. It's like having CPT Florida, right?
Oh,
CPT
wow.
South Florida.
I did not think that's where you were going with that. That
is the backbone of your IT services. It's the backbone of all your phone services, kind of like the threes that Kyle Lowry was bringing to this team. So make sure you call CPT Florida at 954-963-2775 or give them a visit at cpt-florida.com. I think the dude's name is TJ, or that's what Royal always says, so that's what I'm going to say too. But like I said, they got all your phone systems, your IT services, your cloud services. You have a home business, if you have a on-the-road business, anything, make sure to go to cptflorida.com, and they'll take care of you. Like I said, 954-963-2775. Make sure you also, if you're in the Miami area, check out City Cigar Lounge. They got like a couple hundred different types of cigars, like 50 different types of bourbons. They got a good vibe. They have a nice, good classical food there as well. And they're not too far from the Heat Arena. We're going to have some watch parties there as well. So go check out the place. So whenever you come to our watch parties, you don't know what's going, you're not confused about everything. You find everybody and you enjoy yourself. So make sure you check out City Cigar Lounge as well. Guys, any final thoughts? And Roy, I appreciate you, brother. We miss you. The post-up is a million times better with you. We can't wait to have you back. But guys, any final thoughts on tonight's game? And moving, actually, wait a second. What the hell am I doing? Even though we don't have a game past All-Star break, I still got to do this. The Heat are playing next week, and we are playing.
The New York Knicks.
Oh, shit. Jesus Christ.
I think it's in Miami, too.
Oh, that's going to be a slaughterhouse. I can't wait for Ricky to clip this part. Brian Young, the boy feeling good?
No, it's in New York.
Actually,
in New York.
You know what? I had a thought about New York on my way to get food at lunch.
And then you took a shit?
No, I did not take a shit. No, it was.
I think when I think of New York,
like my family is half my family is from New York. Well, I guess my mom's from there. The rest are Panamanians. But I was just kind of thinking, like, New York seems like a cool place. Like, I'd visit. It's chill. The only problem is you buy an apartment and you basically are guaranteed to have like 10,000 little crawly buddies hanging out with you throughout your whole time staying there. And I don't know. That sounds awful. Yeah, Dixie Roach problem, New York. But this is gonna be a double digit. Like, we're good. Knicks suck, bro. Like, what are we even talking about? Like, we know how the games are gonna go. We know that Julius Randle's gonna play like ass. We know that. We know how the game's gonna go. We're good. Fuck the Knicks, I guess, because that's a Heat fan thing. So yeah, we're chilling.
Fuck the Knicks. God, the boy feeling good.
Bing bong. That game is not going to be close. Not close at all, okay? I don't care what Julius Randle can put up 30, 30, and 30. That team is losing by 30 points. The Heat are going to blow that shit out with maximum efficiency. I mean, I think this team might put up 130 on them, And Tibbs is going to rip all 4 of his hairs off. I have to say, the Knicks spaces are going to be sublime after that game. First game after the All-Star break. I think this team is going to be... I love this, Arlene. I love this. I want to hear Let's Go Heat chants to the tears of Knicks fans. I want to hear it. It's a nice little song. I want to hear that song play in Madison Square Garden. I'm very confident about the way this team comes out of the break. I think they need a rest right now. They'll be fine. They need Tyler Hero back. They need Caleb Martin back. They need Dwayne Dedmon back. They could use Victor Oladipo and Markieff Morris. Get those guys back, and I can't wait. Knicks Spaces, I'll tweet out the link once the Heat blow that shit up.
I cannot wait to hear the cries of Knicks fans. But I mean, they're lost 12 of their last 13, and they're the 12 seed right now. I don't know how much worse they can get for them, but Royal's not here, so the Heat about to blow this shit out. What the fuck you talking about? We're playing against the New York Knicks. We're playing literally against the most poverty franchise in the last 30 years. They haven't won shit recently. I think their last playoff win was the one against Miami when Carmelo was still playing on the Knicks with Amari Stoudemire and Tyson Chandler. Yeah, remember that guy? Yeah, so yeah, they're not going to win shit. They're not going to beat us in New York. We're going to have Let's Go Heat chants in New York like we did in Charlotte tonight, and we're going to blow that fucking game out. You already know how we do. So I want to thank everybody in the comments for making this show much better than it would have been without you. Shout out to my boy Royal as well. Shout out to my boy Napgod as well. You're out in the comments. I appreciate you. I want to thank my man Gadiel Cartagena, the sole member of the Kang Gang, Mr. Brian Young, and everybody else who is watching post. If you're watching this live, make sure you, like I said, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If there's something you didn't like, let us know in the comments what you didn't like. That way we can make the show a little bit better for you. Or we don't care about what you think anyways. But we'll do one. Hubert, this is all for you, Gad. Go ahead and let it rip.
Pepa y agua para la seca, todo el mundo empatía en la discoteca. Play the video, Jonathan.
Jimmy buckets! Clutch time!
Tyler Hero, what a finisher he's become.
Lane, Oladipo. Oh! That's right. You better mean mug after you dunk on somebody that way.